Hey everyone, this is Derek. This is section 1.3, and in this section we're going to look at solving equations. This one's just going to be a meet and greet, and so there's just going to be kind of single operation and figuring out how to use inverse operations to get a variable alone. So let me go through a couple of definitions. So inverse operations, multiplication and division are opposite because each is the inverse operation and does the other's effect. So basically if I said 2 times 5, that makes 10, right? And if I divide by 2, I get back to the 5. So that's what I mean by inverse. They kind of do and undo each other. Addition and subtraction are opposite, again, because they do and undo each other. So if I say, 2 plus 5 equals 7, and then if I take away 5 on both sides, I'm back to that 2. So to solve an algebraic equation, first thing is to ask yourself, what's the operation that we have that's being performed to the variable? And then the next thing is we got to do the opposite of that. And so and you're going to see these problems get much more complicated as we go on in the course, but that's the basic steps, is to figure out kind of what's happening first and then how to peel it off or how to undo it. So let me show that with some actual examples here. Okay, so directions are solve and check your solutions. I'll check one, and then after that I probably won't show the check, but I'll show you what they mean. So this first one, let me write this a little bit bigger. D plus 11 equals 17. So this back here was asking, oops, sorry, that was loud. Step 1, ask yourself what operation has been performed on the variable. So in this case, we have this D and we are adding 11 to it. So addition is the operation that's being performed in this example. So to undo addition, we subtract. And what we're trying to do is get D by itself, so we're trying to just get it down to a plain D. So if I have D plus 11, well then I want to take away 11 on, what's important is both sides of the equation. Is what I do on this side, I have to do on this side as well to keep things equal and even. So 11 minus 11, that gets me the plain D, that's what we want. 17 minus 11, that would equal 6, so D is 6. The check is just to plug it right back into the equation. 6 plus 11 should make 17, and 17 does equal 17, so it checks. Again, I won't show the check every time, but that's the idea, is you just take your solution, plug it in, and it should come up to the other side. So this next one is 2.5h equals 20. And so this time our operation that's happening to h is multiplication. And remember, division goes with multiply. So when we add and subtract, we're trying to make it come out to 0. When we multiply divide, we're trying to make it come out to a 1, because we want it to be a invisible 1h with nothing else attached to it. So if I'm going to divide by 2.5 on this side, I got to do the same on that side. And then that should be 2.5 into 20 would be 8. And again, we can plug it right back here, 2.5 times 8, and that'll make your 20. This one, 12.1 equals C minus 3.7. So this time the C, something's being subtracted from it. So to undo subtraction, we add. So it's always just the opposite. So plus, or inverse actually. Plus 3.7. And so here, this would just be a plain C on that side. And then that will be 15.8 over on this side. And then this one, N over 5.5. So here the 5.5 is dividing, and so multiplication undoes division. So I will multiply both sides by 5.5. You can think of that over 1 if it helps, we're canceling there. And what I do here, of course, I have to do over here as well. And then that'd be 15 plus 1.5, so that should be 16.5 would equal N. And these last couple are just going to be examples with words, but sort of doing those same operations. So Lupe spent $50 at the craft fair. She now has $35 left. How much did she have before the craft fair? So you can probably look at that and go 85. And yeah, the goal though is to get it to an equation so that as these problems get more complicated, we can actually write equations from them. We can't just do them in our head. So I will do this out, even though we know how much she had. So she spent 50, she now has 35 left. How much did she have before the craft fair? So what are we asked to find? So that's kind of the first thing, is like, what are we even trying to do? We're trying to find how much she had before. So how much before? And it'll be a drop-down box, I think, on the homework. It'll give you choices as to to which variable to use. So B is how much she had before the craft fair. So that's the one that we're looking for in this case. Using the variable for part A, so we're going to call our variable B, write an equation to express the amount of money that she had after the craft fair. So I would go B, so she's starting off with B. She is spending 50 bucks. And then at the end of that, she's going to have $35. So some amount of money, less 50 bucks, and now she has 35 left. And then for C is to solve that. So we would just add our 50 to both sides. And then that means her, how much she had before is the $85 that we can kind of look at intuitively. But again, the point of this section is just to try to get a little bit more comfortable getting from words to math and then using these inverse operations. So even when there are things that you can do in your head, they won't be in a couple more weeks. Number 6, Emily spends 40% of her monthly income on rent. For instance, this is one that's a little hard to do in your head. If her rent is $850, how much does Emily make? So use your formula to write an equation to solve the problem. Use X for the amount of money Emily makes in a month. So remember with our percentages, it's 40%, so it's less than 100, so it's going to be 40% of like the whole is going to be the part, or 40% of the big number is going to be the smaller number. So the X is how much she makes in a month. So if we say 40% of that amount, you don't really need the zero, just kind of make it look like 40. So 40% of that total amount that she makes, that much is going to be $850, and that's her rent. So now we go back and we're going to solve to figure out how much she makes. So this time this 0.40 it's a multiplication, so our inverse operation of that is going to be division. So we're going to divide both sides by 0.4, and bringing that down here, we get X equals $2,125. And so then, you know, like here, if you want to check yourself and make sure you got everything set up right, you just go 40% times 2125, and then that should come out to $850, and that's that check. Okay, number 7, Sunshine Industries manufactures beach umbrellas. Their profit on each umbrella is 18% of their sell price. Write an equation for the profit P of each umbrella in terms of its selling price X. So the profit is going to be the smaller number, right? Because it's going to be a portion or a percentage of the sell price. So we should have profit is going to equal 18% of the selling price, which is X. If a beach umbrella sells for $79, what's the profit? So this time we know X is 79 because that's our sell price X. So we plug that in here, and then that's going to give us profit is 18% of that amount. And that turns out to be $14.22. Part C, the profit for one umbrella is $21.96. So this time we know P instead of knowing, and that's why it's important to kind of label your variables and know which thing is which thing. So this time we know P is $21.96, and we're going to be solving for that X instead. So 21.96 equals 0.18X. And now this time our X is being multiplied by something, so to undo that I have to divide. And if you do that, X comes out to $122.